This video will describe the lack of social mobility in Peru, specifically its capital Lima, and how it is perpetrated by the schooling systems in which people from different social strata do not mix. Since colonial times, Peru has been very racially and socially segregated. It is one of the countries with less social mobility in Latin America. The roots of its inequality are embedded back to colonial times, as economic and social capital have been concentrated in the hands of a few elite. However, in recent years, the country's economy has been booming and the middle upper class continues to grow. Despite the increase in wealth in Peru and its growing middle class, it is a country that does not allow for social mobility and integration due to the way of some of their institutions are set up. For instance, the schooling system, both private and public, does not allow people from different social strata to mix, perpetrating social inequality and fueling the racism in the country. The way in which I will use the analytical toolkit is by looking at the different levels of strata in Peruvian society and how they are broken down in the educational system: the elite, the rising middle class, and the lower class. As the country's middle class grows, there is a larger demand for private schooling. However, the best private schools in the country continue to be attended by the same group of people. The stratification in schooling then perpetuates the stratification in society as a whole. The growing middle class ends up putting their children in middle class level private schools, but not in the best in the country. This feeds to the lack of social mobility in the country because the rising middle class and elites do not mix. On the other hand, the lower class cannot afford schooling and most of them end up putting their children in public schools. Public schools, which are government funded, most of the times do not have enough chairs and pencils for their students, or even enough teachers due to the low wages paid. This further feeds into the divided levels of strata, where people with very low resources are not able to break the poverty cycle through education that is simply not provided. I will analyze two specific features of the schooling system that really perpetrate this stratification. In the case of people moving from mid-income private schools who wish to go to the best private schools, this feature is race. During the early 20th century, thousands of immigrants came to Lima City, including people of German, French, Italian, and British descent. They organized social clubs and built their own schools. Examples are the American Peruvian School, the Alianza Francesa de Lima, Markham College, the British Peruvian School in Monterrico, Antonio Raimondi District Italian School, the Pestalozzi Swiss School, and also several German Peruvian schools. Peru is a melting pot nation. However, racism and hate speech dictate the lives of many Peruvians and do not allow for social classes to mix in the school system, as the only way to get into a good school or these elite schools is by knowing people in the community that manage it. The word cholo has dual meanings. Many times it is used as a name of endearment. Cholear is a verb particular to Peru that has a meaning along the lines of treating someone respectfully insult. What the Oxford Spanish Dictionary doesn't point out, however, is that this insult is almost always about skin color. As with cholo, there is a playfulness to the word, but it is that very playfulness that is the root of the problem. It makes it okay. It turns a racial slur into an acceptable joke. The biggest obstacle to ending this racism is the fact that it is simply seen as a joke. Racial stereotypes are reinforced on a daily basis in the media to a point where it has become the norm in society. Many Peruvians will tell you that racism does not exist. That is partly the reason why it still survives. In the case of public schools, one of the major features is the amount of children that repeat a school year or leave school due to the lack of sexual education offered by the Peruvian government. According to a demographic survey of family health, 13% of adolescents between the ages of 15 and 19 have already been mothers and therefore have been forced to leave school. The existing institutions in the country do not allow their population to stay in schooling due to a lack of sexual education and options provided by the government. This simply feeds into the poverty cycle, making it hard for the lower class to break it due to the lack of education. How the social strata in schooling is perpetrated at a more macro level in society is exemplified by Peru's wall of shame. The Wall of Shame was built 30 years ago by an association of neighbors from Las Casuarinas, an affluent area in the Santiago de Surco district, to separate them from the nearby area of Pamplona Alta. Situated in the district of San Juan de Miraflores, Pamplona Alta is one of the poorest neighborhoods in Lima. The difference between the two sides of the wall are striking. The Santiago de Surco side has cameras and guards to provide security for houses which sprawl over 1,000 square meters, surrounded by pool and lush gardens. Meanwhile, the San Juan de Miraflores side, residents often fall victims of robbery and theft. They live in houses of barely 25 square meters, made of scrap material, and surrounded by the sun and earth, characteristics of Lima's desert landscape. Based on the analytical framework provided by sociologist Margaret Fry in her fieldwork in Malawi, I was able to argue how the schooling system in Peru actually perpetrates inequality rather than overcomes it, resulting in an overall stratified society that does not allow for social mobility.